Hey, I just wanted to start out by saying thank you for listening to Generation Change with Leo Finelli. Ads like this help us produce this podcast. If you'd like to make your own podcast, try Anchor. It's free, it's easy to use, and it allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, computer, or other digital device. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms. Anchor helps you make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership needed. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast, and it's all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Leo, you ready?
Ready. Hi, I'm Leo Finelli, and you're listening to Generation Change. Today joining us is Cole Middleton from Atlanta, Georgia. Cole is a senior at Pace Academy. He's very involved there and spends a great amount of his time advocating and bringing awareness to social and racial injustices within his community. He works with Be the Bridge, a nonprofit organization that helps to educate those who seek to support racial reconciliation. During his junior year, Cole helped to revitalize the Black Student Alliance at his school and became co-president. In this role, he assists his faculty in creating a more inclusive environment. Cole has participated in numerous conferences and race-related events, articles, and videos to promote his passion for racial equity. He also recently signed to play Division I basketball at Cleveland State University. I talked with Cole about student activism and his plans for the future. Enjoy!
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Cole.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
So welcome to the show. So nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off. Could you please tell us a little bit about Be the Bridge Youth?
Sure. So Be the Bridge Youth is an organization started by one of my mom's closest friends, Latasha Morrison. A few years ago, Facebook gave her a large sum of money to basically go out into the world and kind of figure out what she wants to do with her new organization. So recently they started a separate division of Be the Bridge called Be the Bridge Youth, which I'm a part of. Basically helps give students that are interested in learning about racial reconciliation the language to educate others.
What do you do as a part of it?
I attended a conference called Be the Bridge Youth Student Leadership Institute. I hope I got that correct. We took a tour of the National Center for Civil and Human Rights, and we learned a lot about Black history, and we learned a lot about ways we can handle situations in which someone is being ignorant or saying something racist at our schools, and then just ways to start our own Be the Bridge groups and kind of teach others about racial reconciliation and the Black experience in America. And
okay.
I filmed videos for Be the Bridge Youth. We created a youth guide. It's kind of like a baseline of tools to help students figure out how to teach racial reconciliation.
I understand that you're the president of the Black Student Alliance program at your school. Tell us about that.
Yeah, BSA, or Black Student Alliance, it is a club that a friend of mine and I started. Essentially, what I do is I kind of take a mixture of my work with Be the Bridge and some teachings that I've learned, and just especially after the events of summer 2020, I feel like there's a lot of confusion within the community, and I think that's where I come in most, is to provide a one voice for the students to come talk to. They can talk to me and my co-president for BSA, Jayla Weidman. We would go communicate a lot of the changes that some of the students that want to see happen in order for it to become a more inclusive environment. Our last BSA meeting, we talked about the difference between race and ethnicity, and we kind of broke down not only the definition of the two, but what race and ethnicity consist of.
Could you please let our listeners know a little bit about that difference?
I know that ethnicity has to do with, it's more culture-based, and race typically has to do with color.
We'll be right back. In In the wake of a more honest reckoning with the racism in our country, what kinds of things have you done or are you doing now to help make your school overall more inclusive?
One thing that I'm most proud of that I did over the summer was I helped, or my other co-president of BSA, Jayla Weidman. She kind of came up with the idea to create a history elective curriculum regarding Black history. So my elective that I chose to take at the beginning of second semester is going to be Introduction to Critical Race Theory, which is going to talk about kind of how the whole idea of race kind of got started, and especially how it's affecting America today and how it affected America 400 years ago.
That's so interesting.
But Jayla and I, we presented it to the history department of our school, and they kind of took it and ran with it a little bit. And so now we're going to soon see the effects of what that curriculum is going to look like in January.
What do you think these effects will look like?
Honestly, I'm a pretty optimistic person. There are definitely going to be benefits. I mean, overall, I'm just praying that that we really follow through and that the classes, are taught properly and that students actually engage and want to learn more about Black history other than just the civil rights movement and slavery. Having only certain topics on Black history in the history curriculum makes it really hard to really understand the entirety of Black culture and where people that look like me come from.
Does this include like Black art and music?
I know one class that is offered is they're gonna watch the documentary on Netflix called The 13th.
I have seen that. I love it.
Yes, it is amazing. And they talk about like the prison system and mass incarceration of people of color. They're gonna really dive deep and discuss that film.
That's very nice. What kind of conferences and events have you participated in to promote racial equity?
One conference that I attended called Tearing Down the Walls it's a conference at Vanderbilt. We learned a lot about Black culture and just ways we can kind of address racism, like overt racism at our schools. They were really trying to give us tools to better ourselves and really become leaders within our own community. They gave us a language to have difficult conversations. And then recently I filmed a commercial for the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. So the commercial I filmed was to help promote people to come and take a tour of the museum.
Wow, I'd love to go there.
Yeah, it's a great place.
So, how can we, as the organization says, be the bridge between different racial groups?
I think one way for allies to really help build bridges is to become better listeners. The Black experience in America is something that only Black people will know. And if allies really take time to just listen and try to empathize with them and get a better understanding of the struggle that we have to go through, it's going to be a lot easier for allies to do their part and to help. And I mean, something small that for my peers to do is to attend a BSA meeting at your school, or learn more about Be the Bridge and find a Be the Bridge meeting to attend so you can start your own group. That'll help you build the language and the confidence to have difficult conversations around race, which will in turn make the overarching discussion of how to break down these oppressive systems for minorities is going to make having that discussion a lot easier.
I like the way you are both optimistic and realistic about that.
Thank you.
How do you feel that racial justice issues are intersectional with other social justice issues?
I think that when you think of racial justice, I think of the oppressed as in people of color. And people of color they're not just people of color. Like there's, men and women, they have different sexual orientations, they have different religious preferences. So you have to think about how there are, no matter what type of like ism you face, there are always going to be people that kind of cross between the race aspect of our country and the sex aspect and the gender aspect. I want that momentum and all this push for racial change. I want that to carry on into other minority movements.
That's so meaningful. And many of those issues are very important to me too. What do you think we can do in our daily lives to promote racial equality and, as you said, listen?
Be more aware of the things that you say. I know that there's a such thing as unconscious ignorance. You're like unaware of ignorant things you might say just because of, you just like lack the knowledge. Like you're the way you see America is different from how other people see it. And so in your mind, you think everybody sees America the same way you do, when in fact that's not true. Be more mindful of just of how you speak and how that may affect people who don't look like you.
You're so right. How do you feel like you have grown as a person and an activist?
Trying to figure out how to phrase this one. I feel like my eyes have been open more to a lot of the oppression that not only Black people go through, but a lot of other minorities go through in our country. I'm Christian, so I, read my Bible as often as I can. I, try my best to build a relationship with God. And I really feel like that He's called me to do a lot of the work that I have been doing, bringing awareness and attention to the fact that there isn't a lot of equality or equity in our country. And I feel like, He has called me as a leader to try and figure out how I can make life easier for everybody. I mean, there's some kind of improvement that all of us as humans can do, not just white people. There's improvement that everyone can do individually that will make, your life easier as a person, that will make, your brother or your sister's life easier.
Absolutely. In the future, as we make our way out of the pandemic, how would you like to continue your activism?
I would say as I go on to college, I think something personally that I have to make sure I do is to not let basketball take over and let the activism side of me deplete. I know that I oftentimes can kind of let that side of me slip a little bit, and I'll forget to, read current events or remember to call this person because they wanted to have a conversation about race and ethnicity. I definitely want to be one of those people that, someone can just reach out to, if you need to talk or if you're confused or, want to understand why what happened over the summer happened. I definitely would like to be that sort of outlet, and I have to make sure that I make myself available to those in need.
I sympathize with what you said about trying to balance your basketball playing with your activism, because when you want to do different things, it's hard to balance them unless they can somehow go together. I write screenplays and I also do this podcast, but they're rather easy to balance because most of my screenplays are about the social justice issues that I'm trying to learn more about and speak out about through talking to people on this podcast and promoting these messages and amplifying these voices.
That's good.
Let's take a short break. There's been a lot of debate about whether people who don't even know the experience are even qualified to stand. And I think they absolutely are. They just have to be mindful that it is about one specific experience and that they are standing with and not standing for. Do you see the difference between that?
Absolutely.
And we can easily kind of think we're doing one when we're doing the other, and we have to be increasingly mindful of that.
No, I definitely agree. It kind of goes back to what I said earlier about allies of the Black community listening. That's definitely going to help allies figure out ways to like stand with and not stand for, because like the movement like Black Lives Matter and other movements like that, it's not only for Black people. Like this is for everyone to really come together and fight for a just cause, which is change, and change is a good thing. But at the same time, if you try to step in front of the people who are really experiencing and are really going through or have to endure the systems that America has put into place to suppress them, that's going to make it even harder for us to fight through, because we don't like, I can't speak for the entire Black community, but I don't want someone to fight my battles for me. I want them to fight with me and alongside me, but I don't need you fighting my battles for me. And I end up becoming a background character in this fight that's about people who look like me.
Yeah. Well, if you had to offer any final words of encouragement, final call to action for those who are listening to this,
I would just say to those of you who have been fighting the good fight, continue to do it. It's definitely leading towards change. There's a purpose to all of this. And me personally, and to all my, religious people out there, continue to pray, rely on, yourself and God, flip that order, God and yourself to know, right from wrong. And I mean, just keep fighting the good fight.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Cole. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me, Leo.
You're so welcome. Let's stay in touch.
All right.
I enjoyed that interview. One thing that really made an impact on me is how Cole pointed out the differences between race and ethnicity, and also his thoughts on standing with as opposed to standing up for. It's important that all of us recognize these distinctions because we live in a world where nuance and context are often disregarded, even argued against. I hope that we are at a major turning point in our own history regarding the racial injustice that exists in all corners of our society. I appreciate Cole's observations on the education system particularly. He has realized, like we are all realizing now, that the way history has been taught in schools, down to what is and is not included as history, is infected with the structural racism that has persisted in our country from the beginning. As you will often hear, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That's why we must listen and be the bridge, be the change. You can follow Cole on Twitter at Cole Middleton 24, and please learn more about Be the Bridge and Be the Bridge Youth at BeTheBridge.com. Also, check out the National Center for Civil and Human Rights and plan a visit at civilandhumanrights.org. A very special thanks to Jenny Mathis for helping us with this episode. If you'd like to recommend someone you know who is trying to make a difference to be on the show, or if you are someone trying to make a difference and you would like to be on the show, email us at generationchange@leofinelli.com. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GenChangeWithLF. That's at GenChangeWithLF. Subscribe and review wherever you get your podcasts, and just share this with your friends and others. Generation Change with Leo Finelli is edited and executive produced by Julie and Nick Finelli. Our original music was composed and performed by Leo Finelli. Thank you so much for listening.